Hello students, welcome to the first part of the economic importance of bacteria and fungi. This is very interesting chapter, that is the economic importance of bacteria and fungi. Okay, see, if you have studied about the five kingdom classifications, so we were having a separate class for this part. Okay, fungi was having a separate class and bacteria was be included in the separate class. So we should have a perfect reference regarding this five kingdom classification, and then we can easily understand more about this part. So let's start. In today's lecture we are going to discuss about the bacteria part, and this bacteria is very interesting part. They are numerous in number, and this bacteria and fungi both are the microscopic organisms. Okay, or you can call it as a microorganisms in a more simpler term. This microorganisms means what? It can't be seen from your naked eye. We need a microscope to make them visible. Okay, and that too of a electron microscope. So there are different types of the bacteria we can see out here. That is a coccus, okay, bacillus, streptococci, diplococci, okay, and last one is the spiro, okay, which we can call according to your text is spiralia. So there is the first shape, that is the cocci shape, which is quite round. In text, if you are going to see, they have written a word called spherical in nature. Bacillus means the rod shape. Okay, how does a rod looks? Like this. Okay, long, quite cylindrical in nature. Okay. Then there is another shape that is called the spiral shape. Okay, you have heard about the spiral binding part. Okay, this in books and all, in notes and all. So they are called as the spiralia. The name itself suggests that they are how spiral in shape. And there is one more that is called the Vibrio cholera. This Vibrio cholera is a comma shaped organism. Comma shaped organism. It's a comma shape. Who? Vibrio one. It's a comma shaped organism. So these are the different four shapes. Okay, now let's understand them one by one. One by one. Okay, see, we have studied about the coccus. Okay, so there are differently three types of coccus. Okay, that is the diplococci, streptococci, and staphylococci. See, what do you mean by a streptococci? The streptococci means it is forming in a chain form. Okay, we can see a chain, we can see a clear chain. Okay, one round, other one round, okay, like a chain. So this is nothing but the streptococci. And what do you mean by a diplococci? Diplo only two, okay, in which this circle shapes occur in a pair. And one more shape is there, that is the staphylococci. Staphylococci is a shape in which they form in a clusters. See how clusters? We will see like this. Okay, they are bounded like this. So this is nothing but the staphylococci. So these are the different types of shapes we have studied. Now we are going to study about the structure of a bacteria. This structure of bacteria is very important. Okay, might they ask you in exams as well. See, as we all know that part very well, where does the bacteria occurs? It can occur in air. Okay, the bacteria can occur in air, they can be in the water, and at the same period of a time they can be in the food as well. So each and everywhere you can see of this bacteria. Okay, and if you look at the typically this cell, okay, if you are going to see the cell of a bacteria, the outermost part, the outermost part is called cell wall. As we have in the condition of a plant cell, even this have a cell wall. See, in a plant cell, it is made up of a cellulose. Cell wall is made up of cellulose in plants. But in this, the bacteria cell wall is made up of the peptidoglycan. Okay, peptidoglycan, and not the cellulose part. So one should easily remember, okay, the cell wall is made up of the peptidoglycan. And what is a peptidoglycan? Is a biomolecule. Okay, it is proteinaceous in nature. Then see, what do you mean by a word protoplasm? We have already studied the living matter. Okay, that is the mixture, okay, of a cytoplasm and the cell membrane. It's called the protoplasm. The bacteria are eukaryotic in nature. What does eukaryotic means? Eukaryotic means that it is devoid of nucleus. It does not have a nucleus. In short, devoid means what? It does not have a nucleus. As it does not have a nucleus, see these bacterial chromosomes. They are arranged in such a way. Okay, that does not have a fixed nuclear membrane. They does not have a fixed nuclear membrane. The bacterial chromosomes are scattered each and everywhere. Okay, and these are the granules, which are the glycogen, which helps to produce up the sugary part, that is the glucose, and the outermost part, which is quite slimy in nature. Okay, which is quite slimy in nature, and this slimy nature helps to protect up this bacteria. Okay, and this capsule, where it is present outside the cell wall. Okay, this capsule, this structure, which is the outermost one, is called as the capsule, and this is the slimy protective layer. Why slimy? Because it should be available everywhere. Okay, so that it can exist everywhere. On the walls also it can exist, in the water also. So the outer structure could be quite slimy in nature, so thin. And the most important one, they have the hair kind of a movement. They have this hair kind of a movement. See this hair kind of a movement. This is a very important one. See, we all know that part. Okay, bacteria does not have the legs. Okay, it does not have the limbs. Limbs mean what? Hands and legs. So how does this bacteria can move? With the help of this flagellum. Okay, with the help of this flagellum, they moves. They shows up the locomotion. What do you mean by the word locomotion? Locomotion means moving from one place to another. Locomotion means moving from one place to another in water. Okay, see, in air it can easily travel because it just have to fly, and they are very light in weight, so the bacteria can easily present in the atmosphere. But the bacteria which are exactly present in the water, how they are going to move? With the help of this flagellum. Now we are going to study about the respiration part. See, as I already mentioned, bacteria are present in air. Bacteria are present in air. So some of the bacteria need oxygen for their survival. So it is called as the aerobic. But some of the bacteria does not need oxygen. Okay, they do not need oxygen, and in aerobic they need oxygen. Okay, aerobic means what? Presence of oxygen. And anaerobic, see, the word is divided. Aerobic means oxygen and N means without oxygen. So what does anaerobic means? That some of the bacteria can survive without the oxygen also. Some of the bacteria can survive without the oxygen also. Let's take an example to understand it more clear way. See, a daily life example I am going to give you. See, when you go to school, so your mom gives you tiffin. Okay, in that tiffin, suppose she have given some chapatis to you. Example I'm going to give. Okay, so chapatis should be very fresh. Okay, and it should be quite warm also, because they are freshly prepared. And when she close up that lunch box, okay, so at that period of a time, what happens, the bacteria inside that closed container starts to grow. So some of a time when you forget up to have your uh, breakfast during your school breaks, and immediately in the evening, in the late evening, when you open that lunch box, so you have the smell of the tiffin box is very foul. Okay, a bad odor comes from your tiffin box. So why it got happened? Because see, when your mom has given you the chapati, she have closed the container. The closed container indicate that there was absence of oxygen. Okay, oxygen was not present. So as the oxygen was not present at that period of a time, the bacteria started to grow. Okay, and as it was made in the morning and you had open up your lunch box in the evening, so a foul smell was coming from your tiffin box. So this proof that bacteria grows anaerobic also. Anaerobic means what? Without oxygen. Nutrition. See, I'm going to give you two conditions, and that you can easily understand this part. Suppose a person who is ill. Okay, a person who is ill. So how does the person feel ill? When a person, when does a person feel ill? When any of the microorganisms enter into his or her body. At that particular period of a time, they basically affect up your immune system and cause you ill. Okay, now the second condition, this was the first condition, now a second condition I'm going to give. So why does it happens when a person, okay, when a dead, okay, dead person dies, sorry, when a person is dead, and if you keep that body for a longer period of a time, what happens? At that particular period of a time, the body starts to stink. Okay, it produces of this foul smell, that is the bad odor, that is the bad smell. So why it happens? Okay, why a person or a dead body produces the foul smell if we keep that dead body for a longer period of a time? The reason is quite simple, because bacteria are of two types. Okay, they obtain of their nutrition from two types. One is from the saprophytic mean and other is from the parasitic mean. What do you mean by the word saprophytic? The word saprophytic means obtaining nutrition from the dead, obtaining nutrition from the dead organism. As in the second case, when a person dies, if you keep the body for a longer period of time at your house, so that body will smell badly. Okay, a foul smell is going to produce. So why that foul smell was coming? Because many of the bacteria were obtaining of the nutrition from that part. So this was about the dead one. But what was the first condition? Some of a time you feel ill. So parasitic means it draws nourishment from the body. Draw nourishment from the body of living host. Okay, when a person is alive, host, when a person is alive, at that period of a time it draws up the nutrition from your body, so that is why you feel ill. So that is called the parasitic condition, and saprophytic means the dead condition. So basically sapro means the dead condition and parasitic means the living condition in which the organisms obtain up their nutrition. From the dead body also and from the living body also it can obtain up its nutrition. Now a question arises. Reproduction. What do you mean by reproduction, bro? Reproduction means producing its same kind generation after generation, producing its own kind of generation after generation. What does that mean? See, there are two types of reproduction. One is sexual reproduction and one is the asexual reproduction. But as bacteria is there, as in a condition of a bacteria, it does not need two, okay, it does not need a two sex, that is a male or female. It can reproduces asexually only. What does that means? What does that means? Only one sex. Okay, only one sex is involved in this part. See, this is a typically bacterial cell. This black color structure we can see out here is nothing but a DNA. This DNA starts to replicate, okay, duplicates, replicates one and the same. And then when the DNA exactly get replicate, it get divided into two parts, okay, and we can see a furrow which has been created out here, okay, like this furrow. And when this furrow get exactly deepen inside like this, deepen inside, it get exactly divided. See this get exactly divided, and this is the way how they reproduce. This method of reproducing is called cell division, okay, or binary fission, which you have already heard in your 8th standard. Binary means two and fission means to split. Fission means split. Binary fission or cell division. As their mode of reproduction is asexual in nature, so in a single minute they can replicate around 24 times, okay, not 24 exactly, it's 72, okay, in 1 minute around they can make that 72 bacteria. So one can easily imagine, okay, how the bacteria get spread so fast. See, so we have studied about the different movements, nutrition, respiration, reproduction related, okay. Now some of the time it happens that bacteria, okay, now a condition regarding the environmental part. As we have already studied that the bacteria exists in air, okay, it can exist in water, it can exist in food also. But there are certain conditions like a desert area like Rajasthan or Antarctica where the conditions are not favorable because their conditions are extreme hot or extreme cold. So does the bacteria occurs there also? Now a question arises. The answer is yes, the bacteria occurs there also in a dry vegetation, okay, like in Rajasthan where the vegetation is quite dry because there is a less amount of water. So what does they do? This bacteria, the outermost part is called the bacterial wall or a cell wall in an easier term. What does they do? They maintain up that spore condition inside this, okay, they make a hard protective layer inside this part, and this hard protective layer is called as the spore wall. This hard protective layer, okay, this hard protective layer inside this cell is called the spore wall, and this spore wall is very hard enough, okay. Why this spore wall is quite hard enough? So it can maintain up, so that it can maintain up its tolerance toward extreme dry condition, so it can easily tolerate the dry condition. okay, should not be killed that easily. And any of the problem regarding the tolerance, like if any of the chemicals or pesticides get spread out, so it should not get that. So that is why it should be hard. Okay. And when does this spore wall get rupture? When they give the favorable condition. What do you mean by favorable condition? Means when the temperature get moderate. What does moderate? Normal temperature, not too hot, not too cold. When the temperature become moderate, at that period of a time it becomes favorable condition for them, and from this they can easily rupture out this spore wall. Now we have spoke about the different types of bacterial. Okay, now as I already mentioned, the chapter has been divided into two parts: bacteria and fungi. So bacteria and fungi both usually are considered to be the bad ones, but it is not always so. Why? Because its useful effects are, it gives help in your antibiotic formation, it gives help in the serum part and a vaccine related part. Now what do you mean by antibiotic first? Antibiotic is a chemical substance produced by living organisms which can stop the growth of some disease producing bacteria and fungi. Suppose, let's take an example to understand in more clear way this definition. If suppose any of the harmful bacteria which enters to inside the body, suppose this is a bacteria which I am drawing out here, and it is entering inside this human. Okay, when this bacteria gets inside this person, so this person get feel ill. Okay, when this person get ill, at that particular period of a time, what happens? This body of a human, okay, it helps to protect it up to a certain extent. After that, this person goes for the appointment of a doctor, and when he goes for a doctor appointment, so at that period of a time, doctors always gives up some of the medicines. That medicines are called as the antibiotic. Okay, what is the function of this antibiotic or the medicines? It is a chemical substances produced by living organisms which can stop the growth of some disease producing bacteria and fungi. So suppose this bacteria which was producing some of the harmfulness, okay, harmful substances, so this antibiotic means the medicines is going to stop, okay, it is going to stop the growth of this bacteria. So basically these antibiotics are nothing but we consider as the medicines only. There are some different types of criteria for the good bacteria who are considered as a good bacteria. Okay, actually the topic is criteria for good antibiotic. Criteria for good antibiotic: it should not have any side effects. Okay, whenever you take up any of the medicines, it should not produce up the side effect. Okay, second, it should not kill the normal bacteria of the host. See, there are some of the bacteria which are present in our body, but they are not harmful, they are not going to make you feel ill. Why? Because these bacteria are considered to be the good bacteria, and good bacteria always keeps you healthy. Okay, because they always helps you in the digestive system, this bacteria which we called as the enzymes also. And the third one, should be able to kill a wide variety of disease producing microorganisms. So many of a time it happens कि whenever we take up any of the medicines, so at that particular period of a time there are many different types of bacteria also which are harmful in nature are found inside the body. So whenever we take up these medicines, so it is going to fight with the different varieties Okay, different varieties of the bacteria which are present and going to make us fit. Other uses of antibiotic. First, it can be used for treating animal feed. Okay, what does that means? Animal feeds. See, this antibiotic. See, you have heard about the examples of the pedigree and royal canaps. This pedigree food are basically dog and cat food. So when we give them pedigree, at that period of a time, we keep that pedigree in a bowl. With that pedigree, so what happens to that food if it gets exposed for a longer period of a time? When that food get exposed for a longer period of a time, at that particular period of a time, your food can get perished. Okay, it can get rotten up because the bacteria will start growing on it. So what does this pedigree company does? They already, whenever they make up this pedigree food, so at that particular period of a time, they add some preservatives. That preservatives are nothing but the antibiotic. They already involve that antibiotic inside them. So whenever any of the dog, cats eat up that food, they does not get infected because there is an already presence of this antibiotic. It helps to for controlling plant pathogens. Pathogens matlab what? Disease causing bacteria, disease causing germs, disease caused by germs. And they also acts as the food preservative, especially for fresh meat and fish. Now, so this was all about the antibiotics. Okay, one general knowledge question: which was the first antibiotic made? That is penicillin. Is the first that was produced by a scientist called Fleming, Alexander Fleming, and this penicillin helps to cure us from the tetanus and diphtheria diseases. Now serum. What do you mean by a word serum? See, serum means what? In which blood plasma, okay, actually means blood plasma from which fibrinogen has been removed. Suppose we have given an example out here. See, this is a diagram A and this is nothing but diagram B. So we have took a test tube and we took a sample of blood inside this test tube. So what does this blood was including? This is the corpuscles. Corpuscles means cells, okay, WBCs, RBC, platelets, and these are the fibrin threads. What are these fibrin threads? See, whenever we get a cut, so after few minutes our blood stops. Why that blood gets stops? Because we have the fiber inside our body. And this is the serum. Serum, what does serum means? Serum means the blood plasma only. And what do you mean by the blood plasma? The liquid part of blood. The liquid part of the blood. Because our blood is divided into two parts. Okay, our blood has been divided into two parts. First, our blood is made up of cells that we are going to call as the corpuscles, and the second one, it is made up of the plasma. And what do you mean by plasma? The liquid part of blood. And what is the function of this serum then? See, serums, it contains up a numerous chemical substance. Okay, it contains up the numerous chemical substance, that is antibodies. What does antibody means? See, WBCs are considered to be the soldiers of our body. Why WBCs are considered to be the soldiers of our body? Because they fight against the diseases. See, if any of the bacteria which enters into our body, so at that particular period of a time, it's WBC who fight against them. So that is why they are called the soldiers of the body.
So these are the antibodies. Now serum. Let's take an example to understand more of serum part, so that it becomes quite easy for you to understand. So serum first, it's a liquid part, okay, and this liquid part helps you to cure up against many of the diseases. I'm going to take an example of a snake bite condition.
See, snake bite. In a village, there was farmers, okay, and inside that village, many of the snakes were crawling around here and there. So one of the farmer got hissed by a snake. When that snake had hissed the farmer, at that particular period of a time, after few hours, that farmer died. Why that farmer died? Because in his blood, doctor have noticed that there was a venom. What does venom means? Poison. He found it that the blood was containing the poison. So from where does this poison came? When the snake bite, at that period of a time, it releases a chemicals that is venom, okay, which means poison. So that is why his blood got full of poison and eventually that person died. But the same venom when was injected into a body of a horse or a cow, that horse or cow does not got affected to this snake bite. Why it is so? Because they were having an ready-made antibody inside them, because they were quite resistant to the snake bite. Okay, what does that means? That means what? A horse or a cow is not going to get affected through this snake bite. Okay, if any of the snake bites also them, so at that period of a time, that snake that cow or horse is not going to get die. So doctors and scientists have noticed this part very well. So what they did, they started to inject up that snake bite directly into the body of that horse. So when they injected up this snake bite poison, that is the venom, inside their body, so at that period of a time, the body of a horse started to made up its antibodies, okay, means the WBCs. When it started to made up the antibodies inside the body of a horse, and they injected this injection for more than 5 times. Why they injected so many times? So that more and more antibodies get developed inside the body. Then what did this doctor do? They took up the blood, okay, they took up the blood of that horse and got into this test tube. See, and after few hours, the clotted part went down due to density and only the liquid part came up, and this is called the serum. And this serum now helps the person to get cure from any of the snake bite, and curing of this snake bite is now possible through this serum activity, okay, which is called the anti-venom also. So serum is nothing, what is serum? Serum is a straw color fluid, okay, it's a fluid. Now toxins. What do you mean by the word toxins? The word toxin means the harmful, okay, the harmful chemicals released by the bacteria. See, whenever any of the bacteria who comes inside our body, so they release some chemical substances, okay. When they release some chemical substances, at that period of time, our body feel ill. So what are toxins? They are the poisonous protein released by the pathogenic bacteria. What do you mean by pathogenic? Disease causing germs during their growth, or they break down after they die. Now vaccine. So you know that part very well. Nowadays in the news also, they have been advertising about this part, that this country has made up the vaccine, this country has made up the vaccine. And this vaccine term is very popular also, because you are hearing this vaccine term since your childhood, like polio vaccine to be a good example. Now, what is a vaccine? A preparation consisting of weakened germs or a dead germ substances. Okay, so what do you mean by a vaccine? A preparation consists of weakened germs or a dead germ substances. See, what happens inside a human body? Let's understand. See, in older days, people was dying a lot. Okay, the people was dying a lot from the smallpox condition. As now it is happening in the corona situation, the people are dying a lot in the corona situation. So what is this vaccine then? This vaccine is nothing but it is a consisting, okay, it consists of the dead or the weakened germs. This dead and weakened germs when get injected into our body, so they work as the soldiers of our body. So if in chance, if that viruses, okay, comes into your body, so these germs fight against them. Okay, so vaccines are the dead or the weakened germs. So the liquid part we can see out here, this is nothing but the vaccine. Now, what do you mean by the word vaccination? See, vaccination is the process of introducing weakened germs or dead germs into our body for developing resistance to a particular diseases. See, vaccine, the previous example, this is a vaccine. But how I am going to take this vaccine? Okay, it can be in a two phases. It can be in a two phases, through orally or through injection. Orally, like in a case of a polio, or it can be injected, means through injection. So vaccination is nothing but the process of introducing. So how it is possible, through orally or through the part of the injection. See, this is an example to understand in more clear way. There are two vaccines, that is TAB vaccine for typhoid and BCG vaccine for tuberculosis. So you should understand this name. TAB and BCG. TAB vaccines for typhoid, okay, and BCG vaccine is for TB, okay. TB means tuberculosis. This TAB vaccine helps to cure up the typhoid. What is a typhoid? Typhoid is nothing but a foodborne disease, okay. Basically an excreta of the infected person and the contamination of the food by flies. So this is the way it gets spread out. And TB means what? The problem is related to the lungs, okay, in which the person suffers from breathing, okay, husky cough or a bleeding cough get released from his body if a person is suffering more from its TB. Now, what do you mean by antitoxins? See, there are two terms, toxin and antitoxin. What are toxin? They are the chemical substances which are released by the bacteria. They are the chemical substances released by the bacteria which are harmful, okay. And what are the antitoxins? Antitoxins are nothing but the fighters, okay. See, the word anti, A-N-T-I, anti means against this bacteria. So they are going to fight against this bacteria. So toxin means the chemical substance released by the bacteria, and antitoxins means what? They are going to fight against this bacteria. Now there is one more popular term called toxoids. So what do you mean by toxoids? Toxoids are inactivated toxins of particular bacteria which can still stimulate the production of the respective antibodies. Let's understand. See, you have heard about this condition, okay, when a person gets a cut from any of the rust object. When a person gets a cut from any of the rusty object. So why it is advisable that a person who is getting cut from a rust object should take an TT injection, that is the tetanus injection, TT injection. Because when a person gets cut from any of the rusty object, the person can die also if we don't take up the TT injection, because in rusty objects there is a poison, okay, and that poison gets enter into our body. So when this poison get enter into our body, at that particular period of a time, our blood composition, okay, the maintenance of the blood get changes. So as there is a problem in our blood circulation, a person can die if not cured properly. So it is always advisable to take a TT injection, that is the tetanus injection. Tetanus injection. But what exactly means the toxoids then? Suppose I am giving an example. Suppose on 1st Jan I got a hurt from a rusty object. So I took a TT ka injection, and then after 3 months again, in the month of March, I mean to say, on the 1st March, okay, after 2 months, 3 months, I again got hurt from a rusty object. Now a question arises, should I take that TT injection again? The answer to this part is no. Now I am not going to take a TT injection again. Why I am not going to take this TT injection again? The reason is very simple and easy. See, because on the 1st Jan, when I injected this injection, okay, into my body, so its effects last up to 6 months. During this 6 months, if again I got a hurt from any of the rusty objects, I am not going to take any of the injections. Okay, so it was only a span of 2 months. So in this 2 months, if a person get again affected from any of the rusty objects, that person should not take up the injection. Why? Because there are some of the bacteria which are already present inside your body, and they can still stimulate. See, here the word is there, they can still stimulate. Still stimulate means what? They can again work it out. Okay. So this was the part 1 of economic importance of bacteria and fungi. Thank you, students.